How do you measure salesperson performance? Now, you're probably thinking close rate, right? What if I told you that close rate or conversion rate is actually just one tiny window into a salesperson performance? And you could actually potentially be losing hundreds or thousands of dollars on the table every single day if you're not measuring these other unappreciated, unacknowledged metrics. Today, we're going to look at how you can optimize your sales funnel using some of the most misunderstood, underappreciated metrics of all time. So let's start with the big ones. There's three key metrics I want to take you guys through today. And the first metric we have to talk about is something called dollars per pitch. And the way you calculate this metric is very simply net cash collected divided by qualified sales calls. And obviously this is in a given time period. It could be month to date, it could be rolling 4 weeks, it could be 90 days. Now, what does this metric actually tell you? Well, it tells you net of refunds and chargebacks, if those are a problem for you, how many dollars you're getting per qualified sales call, which I'm calling a pitch here, but you could call it a qualified call, a qualified sales call, whatever you want. Now, the benefit of this is going to be a refund adjusted way to look at the performance of different people on your sales team. What this is good at detecting is maybe one person is really good at getting the sale and collecting cash and getting someone through the door, but those clients refund at a much higher rate. And that could indicate that maybe this person is not selling very clean, or they're overpromising, or they're not being completely factually correct on the sales calls. So this would be one way you could detect on a refunds and chargebacks level who's actually getting you the most money in the door. Now, you got to be careful here, though, because refunds and chargebacks, contrary to what a lot of business owners think, are not necessarily directly related to what the salesperson says on the call. Refunds and chargebacks can also be high because of operations and fulfillment issues, because of customer service issues, because of delivery issues. So what you want to have in your business, of course, is a very clear way to differentiate between what a salesperson is maybe saying wrong or selling wrong on the phone and what is really the fault of operations, fulfillment, customer success. And so, of course, because of this, you have to have recorded calls, you have to have QA. And by the way, if you guys need some help with QA and getting a 100% automated QA system installed into your sales funnel, I can definitely help. Check the link in the description for that. So let's talk about something even better, which is earnings per pitch. Now, this takes refunds and chargebacks out of the equation and just tells you gross cash collected divided by qualified sales calls in a given time period. Again, it could be month to date, rolling 4 weeks, rolling 90 days, quarterly. So what this tells you is for a given set of qualified pitches, of qualified opportunities, how much gross cash is your salesperson collecting up front. Now, this is going to be a better metric for you to measure if you're more concerned about, for instance, cash conversion cycle, which is how quickly you could take your advertising spend and turn it into cash in your business. Now, for this to work, you obviously have to have a pretty tight lid on the rest of your organization. So qualified call rate should be 95% plus if you really want to be really, really solid. Your refunds and chargebacks rate should be less than 2%. Again, you should be monitoring refund and chargebacks rate both from a QA perspective on the sales calls, from people adhering to the SOP and actually being factually correct. And then you should also be QAing the customer service experience. You should be looking at time to first contact from customer service, the onboarding call, the quality of the onboarding call, the quality of the fulfillment, abandoned call ratio. How many times does a customer reach out to your team and they abandon the call or they don't get in touch with a live human? Those types of things can help you with operations, fulfillment, chargeback, and refund rate. But what this metric is really good at doing is allowing you to, for example, stack rank your team of closers. And really that's going to tell you which of your closers is actually collecting the most cash up front, upstream of any problems that might happen with operations, fulfillment, and customer success. If you understand who's bringing in the most cash for a given qualified sales call, then you can understand, wow, maybe this person should get more opportunity because they actually have been shown over a 90-day period to turn more of those qualified opportunities into cash. This is a true measure of how much cash is each closer earning you per qualified call you put in front of them. Now, we have to make a note here on timeframes and amount of data that you have in aggregate. The longer timeframes are going to serve you better as a business owner. 90 days of data is going to be better than, say, 4 weeks of data or 2 weeks or 1 week. Because obviously, the more data you have, the more it's going to smooth out any bumps in the road and the more it's going to average out to true aptitude on the calls. Someone can have a high conversion rate for a week, but as I used to say to my team, it doesn't impress me if you're number one for a month. Show me 2 months, 3 months, 4 months of you being number one on the team. And that correlates to a 90-day period of having the highest conversion rate. If you have the highest earnings per pitch for 90 days, well, that probably is very strongly correlated with you actually know what you're doing on the calls and you're having the right conversations each and every single time, and you're being very consistent. I have gone through experiences before with offer owners where we were looking at just simply too small of a time frame. So if you look at, let's say, rolling 4 weeks, and you readjust the lead flow every 4 weeks or even daily based on a rolling 4 week period, someone could take a vacation. Obviously, the numerator and denominator are going to change drastically, and that whiplash effect actually can induce what I call the revenue roller coaster in your business. Meaning, if you are currently experiencing some months are way up, some months are way down, you don't have any consistency in your sales team, you might want to look at what you're doing to cause that inconsistency. Meaning, maybe you're switching around the leads too frequently in terms of who gets the better leads or more leads. Every system is perfectly tuned to output the exact output that it's currently putting out. So that's another way of saying, if you don't like the results, you need to look at your system design. I struggled a lot with one of my earlier clients, and we couldn't solve this problem of the revenue roller coaster and why it was 1 month up and the next month was down. And it turned out one of the big contributing factors, it wasn't the only factor, but one of the most important contributing factors was we were assigning leads based on this rolling 4-week dollars per pitch. And what that really caused was a wild inconsistency in which closers would get more leads. And that also made it incredibly difficult for the closers to demonstrate consistent competency because, as you know, salespeople can get in their head, lead flow goes down, they freak out, they start changing what they're doing on the sales call, which leads into a tailspin of negative results, which pushes them farther down, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have 90 days of data, it's always better to use 90 days of data when looking at something like earnings per pitch or dollars per pitch. The other thing that earnings per pitch does that's superior to dollars per pitch is it takes into account someone might have a similar conversion rate to another closer, but they might be better at collecting paid in full, or they might be better at collecting a prepay and save option, or they might be better at collecting more dollars up front. And as a result, their earnings per pitch will be higher on a similar conversion rate metric. So that's why conversion rate alone is not going to tell you enough to tell you, okay, who are truly my high performers, who are truly the salespeople that are bringing the most cash into my business. Obviously, a sale is a sale, but for your business health, you realize that now money is worth more to you than future money. So you'd best believe you should be giving more leads to someone who can get you more cash for a given lead today, as opposed to selling a payment plan or selling a partial pay or selling, broken down into payments. And that brings us to our final metric that I urge you to consider as a business owner, and that is salesperson lifetime value. What this is total net cash collected minus commission, salary draws, etc. Basically, everything the salesperson has brought into your company that's stuck, and here we do care about net because we do want to consider revenue that they brought in that stuck with the company for the long term, plus, final component, net cash generated from any salesperson they've referred into the company. Now, if you don't have a strong referral position in your company about getting better salespeople or new salespeople into the company, let me once again get on my soapbox and urge you to put in place a very lucrative referral program, meaning lucrative for your salespeople. The fastest, easiest, and best way to get less expensive salespeople in your company is going to be a referral program with your existing salespeople. If you get just one A-player salesperson and they refer just one additional A-player salesperson, the salesperson lifetime value of that individual is going to go through the roof. And here's how it's going to go. They're going to refer someone, and not only are you going to save $7,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 in recruiting fees, hiring fees, training fees, by getting a good person in who's much more likely to be plug and play, or much more likely to be a cultural fit for the organization, which just adds a lot of momentum and value to the company, period. You're going to then have a great salesperson who now has a buddy at work. And as a result, they're both going to work harder. You're going to get more productivity from both of them. They're both going to enjoy coming to work more often or coming to work more than they did before. They're going to have engagement in competition and friendly competition. And that's going to push them both to new heights. So it's truly a win-win-win-win to get your salespeople, your great salespeople, referring other salespeople or their friends, even if, mind you, even if those other salespeople are not currently working in sales. If you have a great training program, and again, as I can tell you from 12 plus years, sales is not hard to train with the right candidates, with the right people. If you can get them under a great sales training program and take them from maybe a customer service skill set to a sales skill set in a very short time frame, as I've done time and time again, you can ascend them, and you can have a culture of sales excellence in your organization in very short order. So you can quickly see that the adjusted ROI of one salesperson who's able to refer other salespeople is going to be a lot different than what you expected. You might even have a salesperson who is slightly above average. Maybe they're in the top third, top 50%. But if they refer you 5 other salespeople who are all better than them, obviously their salesperson lifetime value is going to go up higher than your number one top performer who refers no one. So this is a way to holistically look at your sales team and look at your hiring, training, and recruiting budget in a different way. And hopefully this has helped you see that you need to think about your whole team holistically, not just in isolation in terms of who has the highest conversion rate or who brings in the most cash every month, but you need to think about who can actually help you scale and grow your team, if that is in fact something that's important to your company. Just 3 metrics to consider, but hopefully this has been a useful delineation of those 3 metrics and why you should look far beyond simple conversion rate to value your sales team. And if you guys need help building your sales team in any way, whether that includes software for monitoring calls, ongoing training, remedial training, new hire training, you can also hit the link in the description below and see if we might be a fit to work with you. Cheers, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.